Hey kiddos, it's Mrs. Red one more time, giving you a little bit of help with setting up this third page of practice with dividing decimals by decimals. And before we get started with the division, I just want to let you know I do have a pencil handy. I've got a pen that writes in color handy. And because I know I write kind of big, I'm going to solve these problems on another piece of paper. So if you're a big writer or if you tend to have a messy workspace, that might work for you too. But something I want to show you is going to work for every problem. Even though I'm only going to work out 2 or 3 of these problems with you, every time you set these up to solve these, when you have a division problem that's presented to you like this, 12.92 divided by 3.4, when you set that up to divide using long division, those two numbers need to switch places because 3.4 is your divisor and 12.92 is your dividend. So when you do the long division, like I said, those two need to just swap. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go right here on all of the problems that I'm going to solve or that you need to solve, and I'm going to write that little X in. And I think it's probably a good idea for you to do the same thing. So that way when you're solving these, you're putting the dividend and the divisor in the right place. If you don't put those two numbers in the right place, you won't get the correct quotient, even if you solve everything about it correctly. So let's start by taking a look. Now I don't think I'm going to start with number 1. In fact, I'm not. I am going to start here by dividing with number 3. And this question says, what is 25 thousandths, or 0.025, divided by 0.5? So when I write these, when I set this up to solve using long division, I'm sorry, let me get this in the right spot here. Oh, probably making you seasick. I apologize. This 0.5 is going to go kind of outside the house since that's the divisor, and 0.025 is going to be the number that I write in the house. So let's go ahead and get started. Now something that you're probably going to notice right away is we have a decimal in a spot that we can't have a decimal when we're using long division. That decimal right there in the divisor, we need to get rid of. We need to make the divisor a whole number. And for this problem, we can do that by multiplying by 10. So then I need to go into the dividend, and I need to multiply that by 10 as well. So when I rewrite this, I'm going to get rid of my extra digits. And what I mean by that is there's some digits in this problem that I really don't need. They're just taking up space. This 0 in front of the 5 is totally not necessary. And these zeros in front of 25 hundredths are also not necessary. So let's clean it up a little. 5 is our divisor, and here we have 0.25 as our dividend. And it's okay to have that decimal here. Just write it right upstairs on the quotient line. Okay? So now let's get started. If I have 2, I can't take away 5. I don't have enough. I can do that 0 times. 0 times 5 is 0, and 2 minus 0 is 2. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just drag down that 5. And now my question is, how many times can I take 5 away from 25? Well, the answer to that is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 minus 25 is 0. So the quotient to that problem is right here. 5 hundredths, which just basically means 25 hundredths divided by 5 is 5 hundredths. And that quotient's smaller than 1, and that's okay. You can have a quotient that's smaller than 1. The next problem I'm going to solve is problem number 4 on this page. So let me scoot my workspace over, and in fact I'm going to get a clean piece of paper. This one got a little marked up, so let me move that guy out of the way. Problem number 4 says, what is 7.224, or 7 and 224 thousandths, divided by 0.08? Well, when we set this up to solve it using long division, our dividend needs to go kind of in the house or in the den, and the divisor goes just outside of it. So these two numbers are going to look like this. 0.08 is our divisor, and 7.224 is our dividend. When I look at my divisor, I see that there's a decimal. So I need to take this 8/100ths and make it a whole number. And if I only move my decimal once, it's not a whole number. So I need to move it again. 2 times 10, and times 10, which really is just multiplying by 100. So now I need to come and do the same thing in the dividend. Times 10 again. So I'm going to have a decimal in my dividend, but you already know that's fine. I'm going to rewrite this problem without all these extra digits. Since 8 is a whole number, we can get rid of those 2 zeros. So let's clean this up and do some division. When I rewrite this, I have 8 as my divisor and 722.4 as my dividend. So now let's just approach this problem digit by digit. If I have 7, I can't take away 8. I don't have enough. So when I slide that over to reveal my next digit, if I have 72, I could take 8 away 9 times. 8 times 9 is 72. 72 minus 72 is 0. And let's go ahead and drag that next number on down. Well, if I have 2, I can't take away 8. I don't have enough. 0 times. 0 times 8 is 0, and 2 minus 0 is 2. So now I'm going to go ahead and drag down my next number, which just so happens to be my next digit, which just so happens to be the last digit. I can take 8 away from 24 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. 24 minus 24 is 0. So now we're done. The quotient to that problem is 90.3. Well, now let's do one more problem together. I'm looking at our questions here, seeing which one's a good one to pick. And you know what, kiddos? I'm going to solve number 5. Let's take a look together at problem number 5. And again, I'm just going to get a new piece of paper. If you need some extra paper, just come let us know. We'll give you some. Problem number 5 says 0.855 divided by 9.5. So again, when I set this up to solve it, those two numbers need to switch places when we do long division. If you were just punching those numbers in a calculator, they wouldn't need to switch spots. But because you need to show us your work, and long division looks like this, we gotta flip-flop them. Okay, well, I'm sure you know by now we have a decimal here in our divisor, and we need to make that divisor a whole number. And for this, we're going to do that by multiplying by 10. Well, we have to come over here and do the same thing to our dividend. So now that decimal moves from the left of 8 to the right of 8. And we'll just make sure to show it right above on the quotient line. So now let's get rid of this extra digit. Let's get rid of that guy right there. And now let's go ahead and clean this up and get ready to solve it. When I rewrite this, my divisor is now 95, and my dividend is 8.55. All right, well, let's get going. If I have 8, I cannot take away 95. Can't do it. Now, if you want to put that 0 there because there's a decimal coming up next, you can. It's not necessary, but a lot of times we'll have a 0 there to the left of the decimal. Now, this next 0 is going to be important, though. If I have 85, I cannot take away 95 0 times. 0 times 95 is 0, and 85 minus 0 is 85. Well, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to drag down that next number. So now my question is, how many times can I take 95 away from 855? Well, I'm going to start by multiplying 95 times 10 because that's easy to do in my head. And that's going to give me 950. And that's too big. But I bet you 9 is going to get us close, if not right on the money. The reason I'm saying that, 1, is because I know 10 was too big, but it was kind of close. And 2, if I had just 9, I could take 9 away from 85 9 times. So that's a good spot to start with a guess. 95 times 9. 5 times 9 is 45. 9 times 9 is 81, plus 4 is 85. Well, look at there. We match. So I know I can take 95 away from 855 9 times. The difference between those two numbers is 0, and since we've used up all of the digits, we're done. The quotient, or the answer to this division problem, is 0.09, which is also 9 hundredths. So, go ahead and solve the rest of those problems and bring your work back to your teacher so that we can check to make sure you've got the hang of long division. See you soon.